So thank you very much for being here. We are together with Jerry. Let me unmute him. Jerry, can you hear us?
Can do, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. All right.
I don't know if you can see me.
We
Never
cannot.
mind.
Let me
Doesn't matter.
camera as well.
Hang on. Hi, everyone. It's Jerry here. Right.
So let me share presentation. And Jerry, you can take it off.
I will do. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, the introduction of Whalebone. I'm sorry about a little delay. I'm not sure if we should start or maybe you should wait a few seconds if there are any arrivals. Andronikos, because of the technical issue, I can't really see if we are all.
Yes, let's wait a few minutes more. Let's give it 2 minutes more. So I am Andronikos. Hi everyone. I am a technical consultant here at Whalebone. In the meantime, and with me is Jerry, who is business development manager for the ISP segment. So we will be hosting the event today. Let's start in a minute or so.
Yeah, sure. Well, okay, I won't hold it for any longer. If there are any later attendees, then they will be able to watch it from the recordings. Just to let you know, guys, we are recording this webinar for others as well. So I hope it won't make you any discomfort or any issues. If you do have, please let us know right now before we start. And if there are not any problems with that, I will welcome you to this webinar again. As Andronikos said, my name is Jerry. I'm responsible for the business part of Whalebone. Andronikos is my tech guy, tech mate. He's gonna take you through the practical part of Whalebone, I would say. So we do have a little technical issue. So Andronikos, could you put another slide on, please?
Yes. That's it. All right.
So I will start with the main ISP challenges, meeting the KPIs where everyone has. It's meeting the number or improve the numbers, keep customers satisfied, and because the competition is big, bring something different, differentiate yourself. Next slide, please. So according to research, DNS level is common source of network problems and challenges, but also usually neglected by ISPs. The typical impact on network is caused by blacklisting IP or unnecessary callouts to your customers for slow or lost internet connections. You know that. Next slide, please. 85%, that's what the research said, that customer believes you should be responsible for their irresponsible behavior. So it brings some challenges. Andronikos, please. Challenges, hassles, and control may basically, or mainly, the reputation. That is what Whalebone is about. Whalebone will help you to please not only that 85% of customers you saw on the previous slide, but all of your customers. and Wellborn will help you to do that with the compliance to RSCs, with national regulations, with confidence, mainly with control. Next one, please. I've prepared a few specific examples of cyber threats, and these stories actually happen to our customers, so it's real stories. The first one is about free phone as a gift, free mobile phone as a gift. This particularly happened to T-Mobile, which is one of our biggest telco operator, but it's happening to everyone, even smaller ISPs. You probably already witnessed that. The previous one still, please.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. Basically, in here you can see customers received message that because of the anniversary that T-Mobile was celebrating, they were sort of picked for opportunity to win free mobile phone, and actually it wasn't T-Mobile, it was a phishing scam. The next story is about our customer who only a few hours after they started their trial, Wellborn trial, they noticed 3.3 million blocked requests. This shocking number was coming actually from 2 Ubiquiti devices, which thanks to Wellborn, we managed to identify, cured, and since the update, they're spot on. The third example is actually coming from customer. They had an issue with their DNS coming from their connectivity provider, and they were looking for new or different options. So they tried Whalebone as an alternative solution, and after deploying Whalebone, the loading time for IPTV services changed from 15 seconds to 4 seconds. So huge improvement on this one. And the last example I prepared for you, these are basically, this is coming from a smaller ISP who contacted us as they found something suspicious in the network of their customer. It was a B2B customer, and so they wanted to do a little bit more about it, not just leave it there, but they wanted to notify them about the suspicion threat. And so they contacted us to help them investigate this action. In Wellborn, we found out that this issue is happening only at some particular time, and the threat found was sort of suggesting that it's coming from an old Windows XP device. Due to this information, the B2B client actually managed to find out that there were some warehouse workers playing games on old computer during their night shifts instead of working. So we haven't been notified what happened to the people, to the warehouse worker, but I can imagine. So, next one, please. Because I said it in the beginning, with the competition big, we need to differentiate ourselves. And so on the next slide, you will see basically the actions taken by our customers. The main, in the front, you can see Tanet.cz. This company actually used our logos, our template, and tell their customers about using Wellborn as a sort of protection for them. The second in line, UVT, is actually talking about neural network, which is used by Wellborn. They're not notifying, they're not mentioning Wellborn, same as Selfnet, who's actually talking about DNS traffic filtration, but we are supporting this pretty much. Why shouldn't you tell your customers that you are doing something extra for them? Right, what is Wellborn? I think by now you have pretty good idea what it is. And I mentioned it in the beginning, the Wellborn is DNS resolver, and it's actually equipped with the threat intelligence system that protects your network. And the management tool, which is coming with that, at least as per our customers, is very user-friendly. I will be talking here mainly about the on-premise resolver, but I'm pretty sure Andronikos will tell you more about both of them, on-premise and the cloud version as well.
Right.
So, as the headline says, all connected devices are protected, and all devices are protected even without any need of installation to the end device. Basically, the only installation what you do is installation of the resolver to your network, and then everything connected. And I mean everything, smart devices like smart washing machine, smart fridge, IP cameras, everything is protected by Whalebone. Wellborn is running on the hybrid architecture. Andronikos, if you can, next slide, please. The hybrid architecture actually means that everything important for the DNS resolution, for the translation, is running on premises, and all the important but sort of background information like administration, alerting, data visualization, that's running on our Whalebone cloud. That means that it takes pressure off the hardware request or requirements, and it reduces possibility of any issues. So something happens to our cloud, then the translation on premises is still working, is still running. It's just not updated, and it will be updated as soon as the issue is resolved and sorted. Next slide, please, Andronikos. The majority of the malicious activity that's happening in the background. But if, let's say, end customer is trying to access a malicious website, which is reported and it's suggested to be blocked, customer is receiving the blocking page. You can see the default one, but you can change it to your brand standard as you like. On the next slide, it's a little bit more about the threat intelligence. We combine the partner's data with our own research, and that's research like honeypots or neural networks, or using statistics. And then all these gathered data we evaluate, and we're doing that for one reason. We're trying to avoid high rate of false positive blockings. Right. Okay, so we have few product variants and obviously slightly different prices. So the first one of them two variants is the main core service. Andronikos, if you can put another one. The main service, which we call security and management. That's the DNS, the security, visualization, the management, possibility for integration. That's basically all what I was sort of talking about so far. The other option is the same part, security and management, but top up with the content filtering. If you can put another one, Andronikos, please.
Yes.
That's the content filtering. That gives you opportunity to pick from 14 categories to pick and filter out an unwanted content of the network of your customers. For example, you can build up some packages for, let's say, B2B customer and filter out adverts or social media for them, or for your home users, you can filter out adult content, sexual content, weapons, gambling. It's all there for you to use. You can put another one, Andronikos. On the next slide, you can see the comparison of them two products, of them two options, and you can see prices as sooner or later someone would ask. So here they are. On the left-hand side, that's the price for the security and management. On the right-hand side, it's price for security and management and content filtering. That's So it's not 80 plus $160 together. No, it's either 80 or 160 or 60 pounds or 120 pounds. That's the minimum monthly payment. For, let's say, bigger networks, we decide to sort of take into account the size of the network. And so below on the last line, you can see price per subscriber. Included in this price is obviously the full support and unlimited support. Sky is the limit. And also unlimited number of resolvers. All right. So Andronikos, can you just swap to the next one and next one straight away, as I brought a few references here. First of all, in 2020, Whalebone was one of 5 best 2020 cybersecurity solutions for ISPs, which, even though we haven't won, we were not the first one, but I think this is really a proud moment, at least for me. And I'm enjoying that every single time I see that. So far, 135 companies already trust us with their networks. And so far, all of them satisfied, which is, yay, happy days. In numbers of subscribers, we are over 600,000 of end users protected. And yeah, basically all what I said so far can be summarized with this one sentence said by Mark Troyacek, which is explaining everything. Andronikos, if you can put another slide there.
Yes.
Wellborn is here to improve your network and to make your life easier and to manage your network easier. This is basically everything from me at the moment. So I will ask you if you have any questions to put them down in the chat, and we'll come to them. If you don't have any question, I will hand over to Andronikos, and I will ask him to show us the practical part.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you very much, Jerry. And we're looking forward for the questions in the chat. So I'm closing the presentation right now.
You're welcome.
And let me know when you are able to see the screen.
We can see it now, I believe.
Great. So from my part, from the technical part, what we're going to discuss today is how the administration of Whalebone solution works, what you can do with the resolvers, what information you can get for the DNS traffic, for the threats we secure you from, as well as how you can integrate the resolvers in your network. So this, without further ado, this is a view of the administration portal of Whalebone, where the main component that you can see is the 2 Whalebone resolvers that are installed on your premises. In general, it's very easy to install a Whalebone resolver. The requirements are very low. So if we go and jump to the system requirements, in order to have a new Whalebone resolver up and running, you would just need to have the latest version of the most popular operating systems, at least 2 CPU cores and 4 GB of RAM and 40 GB of disk space. And with all that, you would be able to support up to 10,000 users. Of course, in the future, if you have more users that you would like to support, you could just scale up the machines, either have more resolvers or add more resources to the existing ones and serve more of your customer base. The installation of the Whalebone resolvers, it's very easy, and I will show you very shortly. You just go to the portal, you create a new resolver, you give it a name, and then after you give it a name, you just get the command that is presented, you copy it, and you paste it to the terminal of your system. So after you paste it, the installation script runs, and you have the resolver installed. That's pretty much it. It's very straightforward. After you have a resolver installed, the resolver shows as active here on the administration portal, And actually, there are a couple or more things that you can do. So at any time, you're able to get statistics about the resolvers and be in control on what's going on. So we provide you with all the information about the latency of the DNS requests, about the health of the resolvers. We are health checking them. We are checking that everything is going smooth. About the CPU load of the resolvers, the RAM usage, and the disk usage. So in any case, we have all this information here. You are also able to set up dedicated alerts for this purpose. And in case something goes wrong, get alerted and be able to attend to that. Usually, when we have a new release, we give you the opportunity to get a full log of what's changed, the release notes. We described everything that is possible, everything, all the new features that we provide, and you are able to initiate new upgrades. At any time, though, you are able to roll back to the previous version. So for you, it's really easy in case something goes wrong during the upgrade process to roll back and have a stable release. In any case, during the upgrade system works in a manner that there is no downtime for your users. So you can upgrade at any time without worrying that your users will have an outage. Lastly, we also provide an actions log. So whenever there's something going on the resolvers, you get all the information like there was some upgrade or there was some update of the threat database of the resolvers. On top of that, from the resolvers, there is also a context menu here from which you can perform several processes. So you can, first of all, clear the cache for a particular domain. So in case, let's say, you're hosting your own domains and there's a change in the zones, you're able to clear the cache for this very particular domain. But at any time, you can also clear the whole resolver cache. Another very useful functionality is that you're able to trace a domain. So you're able to give it to give a domain here, let's say google.com, and get the full DNS trace of what is going on of the domain during the resolution. This is very useful in case you would like to troubleshoot some issue. Your users tell you, I'm not able to access this domain. We can see directly what is going on your resolvers, and in this way, be able to troubleshoot that with you. Of course, there are some options to administer the resolvers, so you can change the name, delete the resolver. You can have any number of resolvers as you deem. There's no limitation on that. So you can have some highly available scenario, have primary, secondary resolvers, have an anycast setup, pretty much anything that fits in your network. Are there any questions so far? So if you have anything, please write them in the chat. I am looking at that right now, so don't hesitate to raise those. So what you can do actually with the resolvers and what is the offering, right? So you can come in here to the configurations tab. You are able to configure the so-called security policies for these resolvers. And what is a security policy? It's a combination of rules of how you would like to the resolvers, how you would like to use the resolvers towards your users. So, starting from the top to the bottom, you are able to set up the so-called security policy and tell the resolvers how sensitive or strict the blocked should be. How this works, very, very briefly. As Jerry mentioned before, in the backend, we are gathering sources of threat intelligence, which we are pre-processing. And to each domain, we are assigning a score in the range 0 to 100. So the higher this score is, the more malicious we believe the domain to be, right? So from these options here, we are able to say, I want to block all the domains that have a reputation score over 80. Right? It's pretty straightforward. You can just change this and become more strict or less strict. At the same time, there is a second threshold, this so-called audit threshold, which can be used for your own purposes. So the domains that fall between 50 and 80, which are the thresholds, do not get blocked. Your customers are still able to access those, but they are logged as probably suspicious, right? So in this case, you are able to shape the policy particularly for your network and for the threats that we see for your users, right? On top of that, as Jerry mentioned, there are multiple types of threats. So there are blacklists, domains that we generally believe that they're malicious, domains that are used for command and control communication from particular malware, coin miners, domains that have been found in malicious coin miners and are being used in order to get the resources of the users and use them in order to mine coins for the malicious actors. Compromised domains that we know that for a very short time are malicious because they have been hacked or something. They contain phishing pages or they are distributing malware. We're trying to refresh this part of the database very fast in order to avoid blocking something that shouldn't be blocked. Malware, of course, phishing cases, Jerry already talked about it, and also domains that have been seen in spam.
Antonikos, sorry to interrupt you. There is a question in the chat. Could you please look into it and answer?
Yes,
further? Thank you.
The question is whether the resolvers should have public IP addresses or it is okay for them to be on private addresses only available to customers. So definitely both setups can be supported. Usually we suggest to have the resolvers on private IP addresses available only for the customers, right? And have some form of ACL in front of them in order to protect them from working as open resolvers. So not having everyone query them and perform DNS resolution to your resolvers. Of course, if you're not, we suggest to have the ACL, the list, but we can also do that directly on the resolver and define which ranges the resolver can serve. So if you give us the IP ranges, we can script it, and it's actually part of our documentation how to achieve this. Please let me know if this covered you or you would like. Okay, thank you. So on top of that, for the security policy, you're also able to have particular whitelist and the blacklist. So you're able to define some domains that you would like to always be accessible. Let me show you how this works. So if you come here to the whitelist, you can create a new list, let's say domains, add it, and you can put here your ISP's name, so isp.com, and save it. So now this domain, even if it's in some database, will always be accessible for your customers no matter what. The same works with a blacklist. So if you would like to block access to particular domains, you can put them in the blacklist and your customers will not be able to access those. On top of that, what you're also able to define is the so-called regulatory restrictions. And how this works is, in case you're obliged by the regulators to block some domains. For example, here in Czech Republic, there's some lists of gambling domains that should be blocked, right? So we're getting these lists and we are integrating them directly to the product. So you don't have to worry about how to adhere to the regulations. We have built-in regulatory lists for Austria, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, and Slovakia. But if there's some other country that you would like to support, please let us know, and we will be more than happy to integrate it to the existing lists. Lastly, what you can also define is some content filtering, and Jay has already discussed that. But here we can point out that since we have discussed about security policies, it's really common, and it's a use case that we are seeing a lot, to define more than one security policy and assign it to particular ranges. So how this works, you just create a new policy. And for the sake of example, we have a policy for a school, let's say, right? So in this case, we want to be to block the same threshold, but at the same time, we also want to block some kind of content, right? So we want to block all the adult content, not allow the kids in the school to see the adult content, and also all the crime content. I will show you afterwards how to assign this to the particular school based on their IP ranges. But for now, keep in mind that we can have different security policies for different use cases, and you can have as many use cases as you would like. All right. On top of that, from the configuration, you're also able to configure how the resolver behaves in terms of DNS resolution. So you are able to actually script the resolver. We are doing that. We are using the advanced configuration. So if you have some setup that will support some kind of forwarding domains or some kind of DNS validation that shouldn't be enforced, because okay, we have seen various cases. One of those is that customers weren't able to access the domain because of DNS validation issues. The domain had an issue, right? Our resolver was seeing that the domain had an issue. It had invalid signatures and didn't allow the customer to access it. So there was a demand by some administrators to allow the access to that. So we just put there in the advanced DNS configuration an exception for this particular domain, and the customers were able to access it. Another use case is that, for example, you have two DNS resolvers, and for some reason, the one DNS resolver gets blacklisted by some authoritative name server. So you are not able to query that resolver. We can set up forwarding and use your first resolver in order to go to and resolve the domains as normal. Pretty much any setup that you would like, we can do it. So feel free to contact us in case you have some ideas, something that you should achieve. Another very useful feature is the so-called blocking page. So each resolver hosts its own set of blocking pages. There are different blocking pages for different purposes, and basically we can support multiple locales, multiple use cases again. So let's say we want to have a blocking page. Here's an example. You can just give it a name, tell it to which domain it should listen to. This doesn't have to be an actual domain, right? This can be a domain on the resolver, hosted on the resolver. It can be pretty much anything. So it can be redirect.whalebone.io or redirect.isp.com. It doesn't have to be an actual domain. For each blocking page, you can have multiple flavors. So you can have a security blocking page, a blacklist blocking page, a regulatory, and the content. And the use cases are pretty evident. So the security blocking page is the case that the page that the customers are seeing when there is a security threat. The blacklist is the page that corresponds to the domain that you have put in your own blacklist. The regulatory, we discussed about it. And last, the content is the page that is used for the content filtering. On each blocking page, you're able to actually customize it a lot. So we give you access to the full HTML code, so you can put pretty much anything there. But at the same time, there is a very easy way to configure them. So if you click on this button, it takes the information that you already have put in your account. So you can just change your logo. The company name is going to be already populated, and you can just fill the basic information and you're good to go. So I have an example here when your customers are going to a malicious domain. So for example, here we try to go to malware.test.whalebone.io, which is a testing domain to see if the solution works. They get this blocking page, which can be fully rebranded for your purposes. Is that clear so far? Is there some other question? Please let us know in the chat.
Andronikos, I think while you're there, you can talk about the proceed anyway button as well, please.
Yes, definitely. So this is a feature that it's available on particular pages. So this proceed anyway button gives to your customer the option to proceed to the domain that we have blocked, while you urge them not to, right? This page, this button is available only in some cases. So, for example, if you have put a domain in the blacklist, this button will not be available, right? And you're also able to enable or disable it based on the IP range. So actually, let me show you how this works. We have prepared our blocking page, everything is good to go, and now we want to apply it to a resolver, right? So we go here to our resolvers, and let's say we want to apply to this resolver, so we click on it, and here in the policy assignment, which gets the name from the policies, of course, we tell them that we want our blocking page to be hosted on our on-premise local resolver, which is listening at this IP address. And now what we can do, we can have multiple policy assignments based on the IP ranges, as we said. So for example, we have a default policy, the first one, but if you remember, we also defined a schools policy, right? So let's, for the sake of example, consider that we have a school at this IP and also some other larger school at this IP range. So we are assigning to them this particular policy, this schools policy, and we also have a dedicated blocking page for them. So here is the school blocking page that we have defined. But because this is a sensitive area, this is a school and we want to apply our filtering, we don't want to give to the children the option to bypass the blocking page, right? So here we do not select the enable bypass option, but for all the other ranges, we want to allow our customers to bypass the blocking page. So here the option, we allow them to enable the bypass. It's that simple. So you just define the ranges, the policy, and the blocking page that you want to be applied in each case. Right. So I'm going to move forward to the threats so you actually can see how the Whalebone solution can protect your customers, what threats it can protect from. The data that I'm going to show you today here in this example are coming actually from a small ISP in the Central Europe. So they are real data from real customers. But of course, we have anonymized them in order to show you to show them here. So in the position of these hashes, usually there are client IP addresses, so you are able to actually see your actual customers and identify where these infections are coming from, where are the threats coming from. So how to work with this? Here, we give you an overview of what's going on. We give you the full incident timeline. And this timeline is color-coded, so we have three kinds of incidents. We talked about the audit, the ones that we consider suspicious but we do not block. We have the blocked incidents, and we have the allow, which are the cases where the customers are actually bypassing the blocking page. You are also able to see that and be in control of what's going on. On top of that, we also give you all the information from the categories. So you're able to see how many incidents were identified per category. So in the last 10 days, there were almost 250,000 malware incidents in the network. And we also give you information about which domains were found in the traffic and also which client IP addresses. But it doesn't end there. What you can also do is you can come here and get the full report. So we log the date, we log whether the incident was blocked or audited, we block the client IP, we block the domain, the score, so you get information about the reputation score, and also the category. All these, of course, in order to allow you to work with this data, you can also filter them. So let's say we want to filter command and control communication that we know that is coming from devices that are infected, are trying to communicate with the botnet masters, right? So we see there are multiple incidents blocked in the majority of those. and we can also see the domains and the customers. So here, let's filter based on the first IP address, the IP address with the majority of the requests. We can see that they had 30,000 requests in the last days. So if we go a bit down, we can see that here there is some DGA. DGA stands for Domain Generation Algorithm. And what this means is that there is a malware that's generating each day or each hour or each minute a number of domains and is trying to communicate to those in order to connect back to the botnet master, right? So this is happening in order to avoid detection, but our solution is able to block these cases. We have a neural network in place that does that and identifies these cases. I will come back to that a bit later. And we also have the metadata that this DGA, this particular DGA, belongs to Neckers. So we are fairly sure that there is some infection in this customer. If you see the pattern here, we see that there are a lot of requests, there are burst requests, and the timeline is very particular. On top of that, if you would like to also perform some full text searching, you are free to do that here. So there is another attack, another malware, which is called cache flow. And if you filter for that, we can see that there are also incidents here. So this case is actually very interesting because this is a malicious browser extension which is able to exfiltrate information. So even if the customers have this malware in place, having a DNS-based solution blocks this communication back with the attackers, and your customers remain protected. There is no exfiltration of their information. So in this manner, you are able to filter out everything and see what's going on in your network and your customers. More on that, of course, we also give you here a context menu. So the context menu provides several options. The first option is the domain analysis. And when I will click on that right now, you will get information about this domain, what Whalebone knows about it, where the information it has in the database. So this domain was firstly seen in the database on 4th of February, and it has been identified in the traffic 49 times. Also very interesting is that you are able to get content information. So whether some domain is in the content database of Whalebone and how it's categorized. So let's say we have youtube.com, and if I click analyze, you see that this is categorized as audio video. So it falls in this category. If we have, let's say, facebook.com, this falls in the category of social networks. So in this case, you are able to see what would be blocked in each case. Lastly, from the domain analysis, you're able to get information whether this particular domain falls in some regulatory categorization, so it should be regulated. So in case someone is blocked, you're able to deduct why this is happening. Okay, I will come back here. Also, let's say that there is a domain that you're not very sure whether it should be blocked. It might be a false positive, Whalebone shouldn't block it, right? So the way to identify these cases, we give you several scanners for domains threat intelligence. So one of those is Virustotal. Virustotal actually combines information from multiple security vendors. So this is the first step for the identification whether a domain should be blocked or not. So this particular domain is blocked by 4 other vendors, Kaspersky, Sophos, Fortinet, and Cyradar. So chances are that it's indeed malicious, and since we are fairly confident, we support this categorization. But in case you would like for us to further investigate, you can just report a false positive here. Our support team will get a new ticket. We will investigate the case, and we will either remove it from our database in case it's indeed a false positive, we will let you know that you should put it in your own whitelist because we believe that this domain is malicious. If you would like some added value, you can also go here to the DNS traffic. So on the DNS traffic, all the information about your DNS logs are there. We are logging the whole DNS traffic of your users. And it's actually very useful because you're able to see some information are only available on the DNS level, which you cannot get if you are not monitoring it. So, okay, let's see. You would like to identify whether there is some spammer in your network, right? It's very easy having and monitoring your DNS traffic. So let me show you. You can come here and let's say filter for the MX. So this is the query type that is querying for mail servers. We have several requests. Of course, some of them are benign, right? So what we can do is we can also filter for requests that are NX domain, meaning they do not exist, or the domain does not exist actually. And then we can also filter based on particular customer, based on particular client IP. So here we can also filter and see that this particular customer is performing 5,000 NX domain requests in the last days. So we're fairly confident, and also if we see this pattern here, that this customer has some infection which is sending out spam in the network. Again, here you can also get some other very useful information. So before we talked about the DGA, the domain generation algorithm, and that we have a neural network in place which identifies these cases. So you can get it here from this DGA filter, which will filter out the case that we believe are DGA. And if we filter for some client, we see that there are like 6,000, 5,000 NX domain requests that we have classified as DGA. So let's filter for a single client and see what's going on. So if you see here the domains, there are very low number of instances and very different domains. So this is not an indication of normal traffic, of course. So you're able to actually identify that this customer of yours is infected. Okay, and since we are running a bit short of time, I will just also mention the alerts, our alert function. So you are able to set up alerts for pretty much everything that is happening in your network. So the baseline is to set up alerts in case there is some issue with your resolvers. There is some communication failure with our management portal. It's low on hardware resources, or there's DNS resolution failure. But we can also set up alerts for trades of the DNS traffic. So in case there's some DGA, if there's a spike in the number of DNS requests, or of course in the thread. So you can get alerted when some customers of yours are being blocked in some domains. The alerts can actually be going to several destinations. So it can go to email, Slack, some webhook, or some syslog. So you can pretty much integrate everything. But we also make available everything via some dedicated API. So you can query our API, and for example, the same information that we show you on the portal, you can pull them from our API and put them into your visualization tools and work with them in this manner. Lastly, we are sending out reports. So each week you can get reports and have an overview of what's going on in your traffic, what are the most problematic IPs, what cases we have identified, what particular threats we have identified in your network, also botnets, so Neckers, Expiro, etc., etc. So each week you are able to get all this information directly in your inbox and be on top of your network. I will finish the presentation of the portal by saying that so far we have discussed about the local resolvers, but in case you would like, we're also offering the same features from our cloud environment, from our cloud resolvers. So we have 2 resolvers in EU right now, but there is a plan to also expand them around the world, so they would be closer to you. And in the same manner, you can just add a public IP range of yours here and assign to it a particular policy. So let's say 80/32, that's a single public IP address and a particular policy, and you can just save it. So in this case, when someone from this IP address is communicating to our resolvers, we will apply this individual policy. So, of course, we suggest to have the resolvers on your premise, but the cloud resolvers are there. So if you would like to use them as a backup, or they are available and you're welcome to use them. So that's it from my side. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat. We will be happy to answer them. Thank you very much, too, for attending. That's great.
Super.
All right, so we will remain here until 3. And we are also available, both Jerry and me, at our emails, or if you would have some technical questions, feel free to reach us support@whalebone.io. And thank you very much for attending.
In case you want to contact me for anything, or if you remember some question after we finish this webinar, please feel free to make note of my email address. I'll be more than happy to answer everything I know, and if I don't know, I will find out the answer for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care too. Bye-bye. So there is a question about threat intelligence and which provider we use. So this is not a straightforward answer in the means that it's not a single provider, but how our threat intelligence processing works is that we are combining multiple sources of information. So we combine information from multiple threat intelligence providers, paid ones, also multiple open source providers. And we are also doing our own threat intelligence. Yes, you can definitely integrate your own feed on the resolvers. It's very easy. And the resolvers are pretty extendable, so that's a feature that we do support. Yeah, so mainly we have, from our threat intelligence part, we use all our sources in order to calculate this reputation number, and of course update it continuously, but you're welcome to integrate your own sources and put them on the resolver for your users. Thank you too. Thank you. Have a very nice day.
Bye-bye.
So I'm going to stop now the recording and stop also the webinar. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.